You're now listening to the Thousand Story Podcast, presented by Thousand Story. Welcome to the Thousand Story Podcast. We're your hosts,
Luis
and Naji.
And today we're going to be talking about wearing all the hats.
All of them.
Fitted hats. Cowboy hats.
You know, those hats that you put on little cats.
What?
Cat in the hat.
Cat in the hats?
Cats in
the hats. Fedora hats.
All the hats. All of them.
So last episode, we were talking to our friend Jimmy V, videographer, producer extraordinaire. And we were kind of getting a little bit into his story, types of things that he does, him moving into being a freelance videographer, what that means on his production aspect, what he has to do for himself to essentially sustain himself, really, his business, sustain everything that his lifestyle. And I think one of the things that kind of kept popping up for the two of us, and I don't want to speak for you, Naji, but was that we just kind of found that he was doing a lot of different things.
Doing like everything that's, he's wearing a different hat for every single job, and he's just doing so many jobs just to make the life work for him, or make his life work for him.
Yeah. Which, I mean, for a lot of us, I think just can be extremely overwhelming. And, having to be your own producer, having to be the person who writes your own scripts, you're writing your own schedules. There's really so much that goes on to, being a freelance creative artist that we kind of, I guess, forget.
Yeah, absolutely. You're so accustomed to being everything that when people are like, oh, like you need this, and you're like, no, I got it. And you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. No, it's weird.
And I think we live in the age now where it's like, I think I can speak to it just because I've had certain jobs that were already established. So I was only one part of the overall. Right. I was only handling one thing, whether I was like handling advertising or specifically like, in my previous jobs. But and now I think it's partly due to the internet and just the way that we learn today is, like millennials and what we do. We've kind of just picked up other things.
Yeah. I mean, because it's so easy to just go on YouTube, right? Or it has been, we kind of grew up with that mentality where it's like, okay, we don't have to go to school for it. Or, instead of going to school, let me just look up on YouTube and find out how to do this thing. And that just becomes like second nature where it's to the point where you basically look for everything yourself or do everything yourself because it just makes life easier instead of having to wait on 5 other people. You could just go on the internet and, find out what you need to do. You're like, oh, that was simple. And then you end up just amassing this collection of skills that over time you end up needing, which is
That's true.
Is wild.
And the way I think it's just interesting how things have been introduced to us, like no one was really a photographer and then Instagram popped up and now all of a sudden everyone is learning how to be a photographer, how to edit photos. And, now we have different apps to do that and, like Visco and Snapseeds of the world that I think, are being downloaded in high numbers.
Right. And it's one thing to just, have Instagram and be on there. But if you want to be good, if you want to be noticed, you have to be excellent. You have to be good at what you do.
Exactly.
That's just part of the struggle.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, I just feel like we're building all these different skills that we don't even realize that we're building them, until, No, but I think another thing that like is just kind of forgotten too, like as a freelance creative, artist is the whole business aspect of it. Like I think for most people, I know for myself, I don't want to speak for most people, but I know for myself, for a while I was just like, oh, I'm just going to focus on the creative and that's it.
Right.
And that's all I'm going to do.
Well, most people do. You know what I mean? Most people are just, they don't want to think about the business because it's annoying. It's painful for them. Right? It's just like boring.
Yeah. And I think it's tough for certain people, like, you know, to really step into a role that is just so outside of their comfort zone, that is just so not what they do. I mean, if you're just an artist that just creates, I feel like most of the time you don't have a mind for, you know what I mean? Or like you don't pay any mind to, you know, oh, how am I going to make money off of this?
Right.
You know, how am I actually going to turn this into like a lucrative profit for myself? You know, so we kind of forget that we are entrepreneurs ourselves, that we are a small business, that, you know, we kind of just think like, oh, we're artists and that's all we do is we just create and we let the business people handle the business aspect of that stuff, you know, which can get...
It can get pretty interesting. I mean, personally, I'm weird, you know, and most people around me know, you included, you know, I love the business side of it. I love being, you know, from the beginning, I've loved being kind of the overseer of everything and kind of choosing or like, you know, observing every single aspect of the job or what music business should be or like, or, you know, what goes into my career. Yeah. So I've always enjoyed the accounting. I've always enjoyed the business meetings, the percentage talks.
Negotiations.
Like I love that because I just love knowing every aspect of what I'm supposed to do to succeed. You know what I mean? Like rather than like, even though I trust the people that I have on my team to do their job correctly, I always want to be consistent in that, you know, if I ever am in a position where I need to handle a negotiation and my team's not there, I can do that. No problem. You know, or if I need to, you know, set out a budget for a new video, I can do that. Even though I have people to help me do that, I'm always there. So I'm not leaning so much on them. I'm just letting them do that, like do their job well. And if they need me to do something or if they can't do something, I'm able to just take it over. No problem. Just instantly.
No, I think what you do is you know, you're putting yourself in a position where, yes, if you had nobody, like nobody around you at all,
right,
you would be able to do, I mean, it would be a longer process for sure.
Definitely.
But I think one of the things about it is, you know, in a previous episode, we were talking about building the dream team.
Yeah.
And I think being able to see like all of those different aspects of what it is to run a business by yourself, you know, what it is to do the accounting, which I hate. I just can't get into it, man. I just can't get into it.
I love it. I love that stuff, man. I love numbers. I'm a number guy. Like,
why?
I don't even know. Like, there's no logical reason.
What brought you to that decision? I just want to know on a personal level.
Okay, so I think it's because the thing is, like, funnily enough, I actually used to hate numbers. Like, I used to hate math, but it's because of the stress associated with it. So, you know, growing up with, you know, single mom, that kind of situation where, you know, she's struggling to make ends meet, and then numbers kind of just dictate her entire life and our entire livelihood.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You know, that was stress. But, you know, when it switched to my own stuff and I didn't have all the same stressors, then I could actually, and I could make these numbers work, and I could literally see, like I could visually interpret my goals right there. Like I can see if I save $500, I can do this thing that I wanted.
Interesting.
Oh, that's wild. Like it only takes that much. What? And then it just
kind
of transitioned. Yeah.
I feel like if I'm understanding this correctly, so you got into like the accounting side of, you know, like your business aspect, right? Of your own business.
Right.
More as I know if I do this, it's going to relieve so much stress.
Exactly.
Out of the rest of what I have to do. Yeah. Because, I mean, as a creator yourself, I mean, it's hard to just be like, oh, I'm about to create, but holy shit. You know, I got so much debt. I got so much bills, stuff. I got so much stuff I got to worry about. Like, not just on a personal level, but on a business tip, you know?
Yeah, just as a means to alleviate stress. Yeah. It was like a godsend. Just making a budget makes so much sense once you sit down and do it. And, you know, people obviously hate to just sit down and do it.
Yeah.
You know, which is a problem in and of itself.
Yeah.
But
no.
It's just mind-boggling how efficient and how much easier it gets once you actually do those things or those kinds of things where you just sit down and you're like, oh, this isn't bad at all. Like, actually, this is kind of, you know, this this work. I can see where I need to go. I can see what I need, and I know how to make that happen. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is clear. Mm-hmm. Now I have a vision and a goal in mind, and I can just like enact it instantly.
Yeah. See, that's, I don't know. I see that now, and I kind of like, I fuck with it.
Yeah, exactly.
like it makes so much sense to just, really alleviate that stress and to not have to worry about something like that,
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. For me, I guess I never had a reason to really get into it, because like I'm pretty much just now starting to get into the whole business aspect of what it is to make music, what it is to be an independent artist, you know.
Right.
And where I am, I think I'm at the journey where I haven't even had to think about, I have to set my own budget and I have to, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because I'm still like kind of like on the come up. I'm still like working to basically like create the income so that then I can have an actual, but instead of right now, it's more like, here's my personal budget that I'm putting into my, hobby, which I'm now doing as you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
I think no, I agree with that. I think one thing that actually helped me transition into it is rather than imagining or rather than having to rely on it actually physically being there, it was almost a means of like a means of dreaming or fantasy. Yes. Like if I could create this imaginary budget, like so I would sit down and be like, if I had this amount of money, I don't have it right now, but if I had this amount of money, how would I use it? How would I spend it? How would I plan it? Yeah. And I did that with everything, not just like creative projects. I did it with in life. Like if somebody gave you $1 million, like I'd always ask myself that question: how would you budget that out? What would you do? What
That's interesting, because I feel like for most people, they're like, what would you do with $1 million?
Be like, I'll pay off my friends and family's debt.
They Post Malone route.
You know what I mean? Get that car, get that house.
All white house, white everything.
Yeah. And initially, that's the natural reaction. You're like, shit. Yeah. Like I got all this stuff now. Like it's amazing. But for me, I was like, even though I never, I've never seen $1 million, but like just knowing that I have a plan for it in case it ever happens or when it happens, I'm like, it just makes me so excited and it makes me do the things that I need to do to get to that point. So by the time I get to the point, I'm not overwhelmed or I'm not stressed about money because I'm like, I already knew this was going to happen. You know what I mean? And it's super exciting.
Yeah, no, I feel that. And I think it's a little different for people too. Like, because for example, like someone like an artist, like Post Malone or like someone who was like signed, you know what I mean? Or was handed that couple $1 million or whatever. It's kind of tough to just off the bat just be like, now I know what to do with this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
it's an intimidating amount of money.
It's intimidating. Yeah. Because like if you don't know, so like for example, if I were handed $1 million, not knowing anything about like having to create my own budgets or like just even thinking about, I'm sure that I'd have people like tell me like, you should probably invest some of that. You know what I mean? Like set yourself up for the future or whatever. Because I have good friends and good people that surround me that like want to see me succeed. But I think for a lot of people, they see that and then they would get the money and then all of a sudden just start spending it on things that, they don't really need, at the end of the day. Whereas building your business from the ground up, you start from nothing. So you understand what it's like.
Right.
More than anyone to just have nothing, to just, and then you understand what it's like to have pennies to be peddling around and then, kind of dollars, and then 20s and yeah. But I think more than anything, the most important thing about like being able to wear all the hats is once you start to get into the position of, now I can kind of hand this work off to somebody else, and you start building your team. You can really see and pick the right people, you know what I mean, for each specific spot.
Exactly. I mean, because it's like, if I can do it myself to this degree or this standard, then I know I want somebody who can at least do it this way or better. You know what I mean? You have that vision, you have that reference point. Yeah. And it's super helpful to have that. Because, if you're just going in blind, you're like, well, this guy, I guess people pay him a lot of money, so I'll just go with it. And, you don't really have a basis for that. You just say, you're just kind of going off of an external reliance point, I guess. But, it's super helpful to have that internal reference point where you can be like, okay, I know what the process is. I know what how to operate this and how it should be, at least for my operation. And now I can go and find the right person, because some people may operate differently. Some people may get to the ultimate end goal, but they do it in a way that conflicts with your own personality. And that would be a stress in and of itself. But now you have that reference point, so you can avoid that, which is cool.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think it gives you just an easier way to just like wade through, you know what I mean? Like liars, people who are just going to try to,
like, I know what I'm doing.
Exactly.
Trust me.
Trust me.
Like, no, well, I trust you, but I don't.
Exactly. Like, what exactly are you doing? Like, explain to me. Yeah. Get me into the process of what you do and how it's going to be better for me overall.
Yeah. And that's just on the business side. Because, like, even like, so business side being one thing, then, like, as far as wearing the hats on the creative tip, say you're a music producer. Even there's just that title alone is multiple hats in and of itself. Because if you think about people like Rick Rubin or Quincy Jones, or I'm trying to think of like producers that don't, well, Quincy Jones does compose, but like a lot or a few of the major critic ones actually didn't do anything except guide and find the people and find the resources. And in that sense, they were producing the materials needed for their composers and their creators and their artists to create the things they needed. And they acted as producers in that they were, producing that content or producing those people.
Right. So like the Phil Spectors of the world who kind of just brought people together.
Exactly.
Right.
And that made sense. That was a legitimate title because that was an important thing. That was an important distinction, and that was an important skill to have in the studio. Specifically, be able to weed out which musicians you want for that session, or which ones would vibe well together. That's an important skill to have. And then over time, that definition has kind of shifted. So nowadays, today's producer is the traditional producer, but as well as a composer, as well as an engineer,
multi-instrumentalist,
multi-instrumentalist, an editor, and just that title alone encompasses so much. So now you have producers acting as artists as well, which they are.
Yes.
But then that adds a whole other slew of talents that they need to have. And it's become such a jam-packed title now that if you want to call yourself a producer and be good and be recognizable and reputable, you have to have all these skills in line and in order to actually establish your name, which is wild. Because before you could just be like, I do this one thing and that's it, and I'm good at it.
And that's all.
But nowadays, I guess the millennial, what I call dilemma, is that we have to be several things in order to make this thing work or stand out, because everybody can do several things.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting, because I remember even when I was like, doing like 9-to-5 jobs and working, through that, a lot of the things that I found, like even going into, interviews for companies that have been around for years, that are already established and all that stuff, is I still had to make myself stand out as, not only can I do this, but like, I can also handle your social media too. Like, you know what I mean? Or just like something like, which is kind of interesting that it's kind of funneled into the traditional workplace. And from there, I feel like we've all gotten this whole like, now I need to, not only do I need to produce my own music, which means engineering, being a multi-instrumentalist and composing, and then also singing, and doing all that myself. But then I also have to create my artwork.
Right.
And
you have to market it.
And then, exactly. Be a graphic designer, and then be a marketer, and then learn how to advertise, you know what I mean, for yourself. And it's just, it's a lot.
It is a lot.
It's a lot.
And a lot of people don't have those. Well, some people don't even know that they need those things. There are a lot of us that aren't even aware of the tasks that they need to undergo to make a successful release happen. Or even the steps that go into post-release, like after the release, what do you do then? And the momentum that's needed to keep a release going or gain momentum even more. It's wild how much of us, or how many of us are, kind of uneducated in that sense. And it's not because it's not through any fault of our own. It's just the information is either kind of kept hidden, or it's just kind of tacitly known, like, you should be able to do this, or you should know this. And it's like, no, nobody told me this. Nobody. This is completely kind of just like half-assed vocation. It's wild. You have a lot of people who are used to half-assing it or being sleazy or just kind of getting stuff done because they have to.
Yeah.
And then you have that. Those are your current peers, or those are those are the big heads, so to speak, in the industry. You have a bunch of people who just kind of did what they had to do. And
now they are where they are.
They're where they are.
It's hard for them to extend a hand.
Right, because they're like, well, I had to do it. Why can't you?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's a scary. It's not scary, but it's like it's a sad truth about the music industry that a lot of people had to go through that whole process alone, and then as a result, you end up with a lot of jaded people. You end up with a lot of shady people. You end up with a lot of people who just cross people off because they're like, I had to do it on my own, so you do it on your own.
Yeah. No, and I think that extends out to the rest of the whole like freelance creative, like indie artist world, like independent artists, as far as I personally don't know of many places that I can go to other than like Reddit, probably, that there are people who are willing to actually help, like, oh, how can I do this? You know what I mean? How can I successfully do this? Not just do this like as a hobby. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, you can learn how to like run Ableton and, you can learn how to produce your own music and all that stuff. But then the whole other side of it, the business side, like learning your own graphic design and, having to basically create your own brand as yourself and then market it to people.
Right. Basically become your entire PR firm.
Exactly. Like all in one. Like that's just, it's a lot of things that I think there's no central location where to learn all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, you go learn, you'll learn graphic design. You'll learn music separately. And then, you'll learn, you know what I mean? But, speaking specifically in the music industry term, there's no spot of like, okay, so you're a new artist now. What does that mean? In our day and age,
nobody knows how to define that. Nobody knows how to say these are the things you need to do. There is no formula for how to make a successful career happen. A lot of it is luck. A lot of it is knowing people.
Yes.
And a lot of it is just happening to find the right information at the right time. That's really, really sad. But hopefully we can kind of overcome that over time, but just by educating more people, like just having people talk about it, or just stop hoarding information.
Exactly. Because hoarding information isn't really going to stop somebody from doing something. You know what I mean? Like it's like they'll find a way. They'll find a way to do it. So you might as well just release it. You know what I mean? You might as well just give it out to people, and that's how we'll get the best of the best.
Absolutely. It's kind of like the whole piracy thing, or like the whole piracy wars, so to speak. So RIAA and MPAA trying to fight against piracy and doing everything they can to stop it. And you're just like, you guys know you're making it worse, right? Like, you're not going to stop. You just have to adapt. Speaking of adaptability, like that is pretty much necessary for everything because you're always going to learn something new. Even if you thought you knew it, you're always going to have to change and always going to have to adjust. That's hard. That's really hard. It's not for everybody,
No, it's true. I mean, you can't get stuck in your ways, especially in these sorts of industries. Because, if you get stuck in your ways, there's no way that, you'll be able to like, you'll fail. You know what I mean? You'll essentially just, because you're not able to pivot from like, oh, that clearly did not work. You know what I mean? So I'm going to stop doing that real quick and try to focus on something else, or, be creative and come up with my own ideas as to how I'm actually going to come up.
If we take the business side, the creative side, and set those away for a second, you already know those are those are several hats in and of themselves. Then you have life hats, because then you have to think about, okay, that is like everything aside from the music. You have to be able to stay alive, be healthy, you have to be a meal planner.
Stay alive, bro.
You have to be an organizer. You have to be able to schedule yourself out efficiently. You have to be able to prioritize certain things, or be able to navigate your own schedule, effectively.
Yes.
And stick to it, and keep yourself accountable, and be that kind of partner for yourself, or find those people, I guess. But it's there, even like I said, just aside from the business and creative, just being able to function as a human in and of itself requires several hats nowadays, and it's.
No, that's true. It's easy to neglect so much when you're extremely focused on, you know what I mean? Like, I really want to make it as an artist. And, I personally, I've done that. Personally, like even when I was just like learning how to produce music and how to compose and write better songs, I would just lock myself away for hours,
right.
days even, you know, and not see anybody. And it got to the point where it was just like, it became like kind of like an unhealthy thing, you know, really to myself and to the people around me, because I wasn't really like living. I mean, it was great that I had that much focus on it,
yeah,
you know, but I think I was missing out on just like life in general, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it definitely put a strain on, you know, my relationships with significant other friends, my family, you know? Yeah, no, it's definitely important to be able to like, cause yeah, as you're saying, like wearing other hats also includes like being a brother.
Right. Being a brother, being a father.
A boyfriend, being a father. Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
A lot of us forget that. You know, and you know, it's especially a problem with producers where it's so easy to, or creators, I should say, where it's so easy to just lock yourself away and just literally zen out. I have this problem. Like I have this problem all the time. I am blessed with the ability to just focus and dig in and get the things I need done, but I'm cursed in that I am blessed to be able to focus and dig in and get the things done, because I am too good at it sometimes where I can literally just block out the entire world and nobody knows I'm alive. Yeah. And, you know, I have to force myself to put on those brotherly hats, to put on those, you know, the
be a friend,
the friendly, you know what I mean? To actually come out and interact with people and be something that they need, or, you know, that just to step out and kind of give myself a moment to reflect.
I just imagine you walking out of a cave, just raggedy clothes.
Just
like, the light, the light. It burns my eyes.
It burns. Yeah. It's tough, you know, trying to find that, you know, I guess what people call the work-life balance.
Right. And especially difficult too, you know, when doing things that require you to be alone, you know, because it's hard to create something and to really, you know, focus on, you know, something that is essentially breathing life into something that never existed before.
Right.
When there's just a bunch of noise and just a bunch of crazy stuff just happening all around you, you know, and the inability to be able to focus on something like that. So yeah, you're right. I mean, the balance really needs to be struck between like, how can I do this in a way that doesn't hurt me, you know, and like the people around me, and just make me seem like a complete, you know, asshole, basically.
Yeah. You know, because you can't really multitask all of that at once. You really remember I was saying there's like sleep, there's social life, and then there's career. Like you can really only do one at a time, but we end up juggling like two at a time, and one of them gets neglected. So it's really important to find out, you know, you have to wear all the hats, but you figure out which ones to wear at what time, and you know, just how to like dig in and focus on them.
Yeah, because I think at that point, I mean, wearing all the hats is extremely important, and something that we have to do now.
Yeah.
But how do you do that successfely? How do you wear all the hats successfully?
How do you wear all the hats successfully? You have to wear one at a time.
You have to wear one at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't just imagine some dude wearing 7 hats right now. What's up, guys?
How you doing?
He just looks insane. He just looks crazy.
A cowboy hat, got a sombrero,
got a fitted Yankees hat,
like, got a fedora going on, you know, for every purpose. Yeah, it's got a do-rag. When you need to talk business, be real for a sec.
Like, you wear the do-rag?
You got to wear the do-rag for that.
You wear the do-rag for business.
A business do-rag. I should patent that.
A business do-rag.
Yeah.
It's like I'm just like picturing like a Louis Vuitton do-rag.
Yo, that exists. I know it exists.
For real?
I'm gonna Google it right now. I'm gonna find it.
No way.
I know it exists. A Louis Vuitton.
I'm kind of taken aback by that. I mean, like, I understand it, but I don't know if.
Wow, they come in several colors too.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they got pink, brown.
They have a pink do-rag?
Purple, white. Yeah, Louis Vuitton.
No way.
Yeah, bro. These things are out here. They get it. They understand.
Wait, okay, hold on. I gotta ask. What is the price
of
a Louis Vuitton? Because what is the price of a regular do-rag?
That's a good question. Okay, depends. You know, like if you get like a dollar store do-rag, it's like $1. But like if you get like if you go to like a good solid hair store or something like that, they're probably going to be like anywhere between like 10 and 20 typically.
Right.
Like, or like, you know, I actually don't own a do-rag, so my mom does, but that's typically what she spent on it. But let's see. So the Louis Vuitton do-rags, those are about surprisingly cheap at 40, you know, for a Louis Vuitton do-rag. But
$40 though?
$40 gets you a business
Louis Vuitton
do-rag, you know? And it's, they got some for 50, 55. You know, it works out. Some people,
I don't know,
some
man.
people get it. It's like
know.
It's like having a solid business like office chair, like, you know, like a good old throne.
I don't know, because that's completely different.
But I mean,
with an office chair, you're sitting in that all day long. I mean, you're basically, I mean, you know, no back problems. That's with the Louis Vuitton do-rag, it's essentially doing the same thing that your dollar store do-rag would do.
True.
I mean, does the material change anything about it? Like,
no.
If it were better material,
okay.
If they were like, oh, the silk do-rag, I don't even know what do-rags are made out of, honestly, you know. But like Louis Vuitton says there's silk do-rag and it keeps your hair silky smooth. You know what I mean?
It's more about the brand, right? If you put that on during a business meeting, bro, and you see that you walk in with a Louis Vuitton do-rag, you know this guy is not playing around. First of all, this man just walked into a business meeting with a do-rag. Second of all, this dude just walked into a business meeting with a Louis Vuitton do-rag. He don't fuck around. You know.
Oh man. I don't know. I mean, I can't wear do-rags because my hair just doesn't. It just doesn't. I don't think it would look good in a do-rag.
I think you could rock it. Like I think you could. What's that one dude? The tra-la-la dude. Like he's like, ooh, you touch my tra-la-la.
Wait, that sounds like too sexy for my shirt.
It's. I don't know if it's from the same country. It's not that dude, but it's kind of like the same kind of vibe. But like he has similar hair like that you know to you. So and he was wearing some sort of do-rag-esque.
No way.
It's no thing way. At one point. I can't. Don't quote me on that.
I don't believe it.
No way. No how.
No way. No how.
But I feel like you could rock it if you try.
I don't know, man. I feel like what's that movie with like Eddie Griffin, and it's like the white guy. Was it called The White Guy?
I don't know.
But he's like, it's a kid. He's in prison. He goes to jail, and like Eddie Griffin is in it, and he's like giving the crazy eyes or whatever.
The new guy?
Is it the new guy?
I don't know.
But he's like, he's like
the new guy.
Super white.
Yeah,
he's like very, very, very just like suburban kid. And then he gets thrown in jail, and Eddie Griffin basically puts him under. And then he starts wearing. He's got like cornrows, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got a do-rag.
Anyway, getting back to the original.
Yes.
You know, it's something that we all like we said, it's something that we all have to do. You know, it's a necessary, I wouldn't call it a necessary evil, but it's just a necessary task that today's entrepreneur has to undergo, wearing all the hats, wearing all the do-rags. Yeah. You know, but it's up to us to figure out, up to us to figure out where that balance lies, you know, and which hats to wear at what time. And then, you know, finally what to focus on at what time, you know, how long to wear each hat, and then who to give that hat off to, all sorts of other analogies. But yeah.
Okay. Well, now that we've discussed what it's like to be an entrepreneur wearing many hats.
All the hats.
You're right. The fitteds, the do-rags.
Sombreros.
Join us next episode where we are going to be talking about... Okay, so now we have all these hats. Which ones do we wear?
And, you know, picking like 3 of those.
3 of those hats.
Solid 3. Maybe 4 if you're special, but like...
Mainly like 3. You only wear 3 most of the time. Anyway.
Or like 2 even, but like 3 because you know
That's a pretty good number. It's a good number. You know, 3 is a good number. Yeah.
But if you have any burning questions for us or topics you want us to talk about, hit us up on the site at thousandstory.co/contact, or follow us on Twitter and Instagram at thousandstory_. That is an actual underscore, not the word underscore. And if you want to know more about our lives outside of the podcast, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram as well. My handles are at Mr. Naji Boy. That's MrNajiBoy.
And I go by at El Pontillo. That's LPONTILLO on Instagram, and at Luis Pontillo, LUISPONTILLO on Twitter. And you can find that information on the website at thousandstory.co/podcast. Again, thanks for joining us, and join us next episode where we'll talk about Lake Titicaca, who named that lake and why.
Truly important questions.
Just kidding. We're actually going to talk about
the hats thing.
The hats thing. Yeah, wearing different hats.
Yes.
Picking 3 hats. Okay.